Week 1 of the NFL season saw a lot of teams play very well, but also a lot of teams play very bad. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing my post-Week 1 NFL Power Rankings. Subscribe and like the video if you do go on to enjoy. Let's hop into it. And we are going to begin with, at number 32, I have the Carolina Panthers. Now, this one is quite unfortunate. I had a little bit of some faith for Carolina heading into the season. Prior to the season starting, I had them ranked 28th, but I was pretty confident they were going to be able to move up. They had a abysmal first showcasing from both the offensive and in some ways the defensive side of things as well. They dropped down all the way to my 32. Bryce Young, I mean, he had moments in the game, but it was very inconsistent. He got frustrated on the sideline. Just, it felt like nothing was really going the way the Panthers probably wanted it to go. I still think this Panthers team has talent. I still think there's things to work on. I think they will be able to run the football better in the future. Hopefully, Ted McMillan continues to get better. He had a nice first game, but there's still a lot to improve with this passing game. I need Bryce Young to get into a rhythm better, and I just need him to start playing better football. This was a disappointing Week 1 game for the Carolina Panthers. Hopefully, this is the lowest it gets. Hopefully, it gets better. Coming in at number 31, I have the Miami Dolphins. What a fall of glory we have seen from the Miami Dolphins. Just a few years ago, this was one of the most hyped up offenses in the NFL. We had Tua in MVP conversations. It felt like everything was going the Miami Dolphins' way. But then the 2024 season happened, and it was a bad year for the team. And now as we enter 2025, I started them off at 26 in my power rankings. But there was always this underlying belief that this team was better than what I had them ranked as until their Week 1 game happened. And they got blown up by the Colts. I do think this team is better than what they showed on the field. I think they are a team that can score points. They have guys on defense. But based off of Week 1, that was a bad performance. This team looks unprofessional. They don't look well coached. They don't look well put together. They look like they don't care. So I have them at 31 because of that. Moving over to number 30, I have the Cleveland Browns. Now, in a weird twist of fate, even though the Browns lost, I actually moved them up one spot in my power rankings this week. In a weird way, the Browns are the biggest losers of the week, but also maybe one of the bigger winners of the week. They soundly, and I mean soundly, outplayed the Cincinnati Bengals for most of the game. The Bengals offense was horrendous on the day. Joe Burrow was terrible. Jamar Chase couldn't get anything going. They stuffed the run. They played well on offense too. They moved the ball up and down the field. Two crazy turnovers that really were not Joe Flacco's fault kind of let this game get out of hand. You lose by 1 point versus a Cincinnati team that a lot of people have a lot of faith in. You soundly outplayed them. You basically doubled their total yardage. If those turnovers go your way, or maybe you make some extra field goals, this Browns team is moving up the board here. So they're at my number 30, but they're also the biggest loser because they probably should have won this week. And this is a Browns team that's not going to win a lot of games. This would have been a great opportunity to take advantage of a team that is sleepwalking. They did not take advantage of it, so they're going to be at my number 30. Moving over to number 29, I have the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee lost, but in a moral way. I think that Titans fans have to feel okay with what they saw. This is a Titans team that is not going to be good this year. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. All you're hoping to see is to see Cam Ward play well. Even if the people around him let him down, let's see if Cam Ward can play well. And in this game versus the Denver Broncos, I'll give Cam Ward credit. The offensive line was terrible. The receivers dropped so many passes, yet Cam Ward kept them in the game, and this offense was somewhat functional. They scored a couple points on the day, and they had an opportunity late to win it. The defense did an excellent job of forcing turnovers, getting the offense opportunities. It just came down to the fact that next to Cam Ward, nobody around him played well. This is a Titans team that has to work on the offensive line. They have to continue to build in the receiving core. They are 3 to 4 years away from becoming any sort of threats in that division. This game was a disappointing game for the Titans, but also a really positive day if you are somebody who does believe in Cam Ward. Moving over to number 28, I have the New Orleans Saints. One of my bigger risers in the back half of the power rankings, the New Orleans Saints were at 32 to start off the season. They move up a couple spots here, and it wasn't because they won, but it's because they had a pretty competitive game versus a Cardinals team that I think is actually pretty good. They had the ball late, driving with an opportunity to tie the score, maybe even go win the game if you go for the 2-point conversion. I thought Spencer Rattler, while not great, I thought he made some plays. This is a weird offense because Rattler, even though coming into the draft was thought of as this gunslinging quarterback, has really turned into this conservative dink and dunker down the field. when you have these receivers who are big time vertical threats. So it's kind of a weird, the dynamic of this offense. I really think Kellen Moore should try to open the offense a bit more downfield for Rattler, or maybe just Rattler needs to try and make some throws deep down the field. I understand not wanting to take the risks, but I think it's something with Chris Olave and Shaheed when he's there, Juwan Johnson, sorry. I think there's talent here in New Orleans to do that sort of things. They moved up my board because the defense kept them in the game. The offense did not turn the ball over. And I actually think this Saints team, they might win a couple games this year if they can keep this defense afloat, if they can run the football, and if Rattler or Tyler Shock doesn't turn the ball over. Moving over to number 27, I have the New York Giants. The New York Giants end up staying at 27. They started at 27 last week. They're at 27 again this week. The Giants showed that they still do not have an offense, but that the defense is somewhat capable. Look, the Commanders cruised to a victory last week. It was a comfortable win. Jaden Daniels looked good, and the Giants defense were able to create some stops. They made it, a little bit muddy there for Jaden and that offense for a little bit of the game. The offense just couldn't get anything going. They moved it occasionally, but they could not convert into touchdowns. Neighbors still looks good. The running game doesn't look good. The offensive line still needs a lot of work, especially in the interior. So this Giants team didn't really do much for me. I still think they'll be a gritty team that maybe if Jackson Dart can come in there and light a spark, might win a couple games. But this is a team that looks like they will be drafting in the top 5 of next year's draft. And part of that is because of the schedule. The other part is that I just don't think Russell Wilson's a good quarterback. Or maybe not a good enough quarterback for this specific roster. Moving over to number 26, I have the New England Patriots. I've been saying this the past couple of months. I have consistently had the Patriots in the back half of my power rankings. They were at 23 to start off the season. Now they're at 26. And I got a lot of criticism because Patriots fans or people were really buying stock into the Patriots. But I have been pretty consistent with saying, give this team one more year or even 2 more years. And we kind of saw that in this game versus the Raiders. There was still a lot of positive signs from both the offense and the defense. There was some things to really build on from here, and you're going to get better year in and year out. But this offensive line is still a complete work in progress, and it's a weird combination where you have this developing young quarterback in Drake May, who his process is still maturing. It's still quite slow. And because of that slower process and the way that he, goes through his reads, this offensive line cannot hold up for that long. Will Campbell had a rough day. Morgan Moses, just, we'll see what we can get from him. You have a new left guard who is very raw. It made for a pretty bad recipe out there versus the Raiders. And the Raiders do not have a good defense. I think this is going to be an offense that is going to struggle throughout the season. The biggest thing, Drake May stay confident, make some plays to your receivers, get the ball out quick. Can we run the football effectively? And can we see this offensive line take some steps as we get going in the season? I do not think this Patriots team will be making the playoffs. I've been saying that for a while now. But I have the team right now at 26. At 26, I think they could end up being higher as the year does go on. For now, I was not terribly impressed with what I saw on Sunday. Moving over to number 25, I have the New York Jets. Now, last week, they were at 29. They'd take the loss, but they end up moving a couple spots here in my power rankings. I still do not fully believe what I saw on Sunday, because that Jets team on the offensive end actually looked pretty good out there. Justin Fields was getting the ball out well. I thought he was processing the field well. I love what I saw from Aaron Glenn and the way that he handled the game. It just kind of happened to be that this defense does not have the talent in the secondary to match up with Rodgers and those guys. There was multiple times where the defense had major coverage breaks and just bad play in general, and it allowed the Pittsburgh Steelers to have a really nice day offensively. But this Jets offense is really, in my opinion, the bigger storyline here. They scored over 30 points versus a Steelers defense that I think very highly of. Now, they still did lose the game, and you have to take that into account, but I was pretty impressed with what I saw from the Jets. I still think this Jets team is not talented enough. I think they have the upper echelon talent. They're just really lacking in those extra pieces. But if Justin Fields continues to play like this, they're going to win a couple games this year. So they're at 25 for now. I wouldn't be surprised if they peak at like 20 or 21 later in the season. Moving over to number 24, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. Despite winning the game, I have the Cincinnati Bengals dropping from 19 all the way to 24. What an ugly game for the Bengals. An ugly, ugly game. You win against the Browns by 1 point. You put together a game where Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase were abysmal, did not have great games. It looked like they got drunk the night before and slept walk through the game. Yet because of some crazy coincidental turnovers, they ended up winning the game. The Bengals did not deserve this win. The Browns did. That's why they fell a couple spots. I do think this offense will wake up. I think Burrow is still one of my favorites to win MVP. I think Jamar Chase will have a great season this year. But they got to wake up. If they come out next week and sleepwalk through that game, they might lose that game. So for Cincinnati, wake up. It's time to go. The season has started. Let's start playing better offensive football, because if there's anything you could have taken away from last week's game, your defense held a team to 16 points. So that's a positive sign. Granted, it's the Cleveland Browns. Moving over to number 23, I have the Chicago Bears. What a fun Monday Night Football game, and also what a bad Monday Night Football game for any Bears fans. We get to the third quarter and the crowd in Chicago is as loud as I've ever heard it. The offense is flowing, defense is making plays. We're getting some turnovers, some punts. We're making plays on the field. Then J.J. McCarthy, who we'll talk about here in a little bit, that boy started to cook, and he started to absolutely fry this defense, and Caleb Williams and the offense just did not have a response. Now, credit to them. They went down and they scored a touchdown drive. They had the ball with 15 seconds left. If the kicker kicks it deep, they might get the ball back with 40 seconds left. All sorts of things had to go their way, but ultimately the Chicago Bears lost. They only moved down one spot in my power rankings. I still like this roster. I still think there's a way to go, though. I do not think this Bears team is good enough yet to really become a playoff contender. And I felt like we kind of saw everything that I've been talking about the past few weeks of this Bears offense is going to take time. It's not going to be perfect week 1. I don't think it's really going to be a functional, awesome offense till like week 9 or 10. And that's just because Caleb Williams is now in a new system. He's got to get readjusted to everything. It's basically in some ways like his rookie season. There was some positive though with Caleb's game. I thought his pocket presence was good. He looked really athletic. He made some nice throws downfield. A lot of things to work on. He's still growing, but I have to put them down one more spot here. They are going to be a good team, though, just not a great team. Number 22, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, the Jaguars played a good game, but I have to put the asterisk that they beat up on what I think is the worst team in the NFL after week 1. They move up a couple spots, though, because the offense did show some life. They scored over 25 points in a game where Brian Thomas Jr. only had 2 touches. He had a run and a catch. In that game, I thought the defense did a great job. I love what I saw from the secondary. They were able to get after Bryce Young. They made him uncomfortable. I still think this defense is going to be a weak spot for the team, but after week 1, I feel a little bit better about that unit. We'll see the Jaguars play better competition here in the upcoming weeks, and we'll see if they can end up playing better or potentially worse. As it goes for the offense, I thought Trevor made some plays, but I still think there's a growing pain with this offense and with this system. I hope that it gets better throughout the year because it showed flashes out there. Travis Etienne had a great game. I hope to see him continue his success. Shout out to the Jaguars. They get the win. Let's see if they can build on it these upcoming weeks. Number 21, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the Raiders, even though they won the game, I had to keep them in the exact same spot at 21. And that's just because they did what I thought they were going to do, but I still have some questions with this team. Now, they played really well on the defensive end. They were able to get all over Drake May in that game. The offense, though, left a little bit to be desired. There was a turnover from Geno Smith. Brock Bowers is now hurt. We'll see if he can keep going. But Michael Mayer really got going in this one. You saw a plethora of receivers get out and make some plays. I love the passing game. I need to see Ashton Jeanty get going. That's one of the biggest reasons why I did not move them up. I need Ashton Jeanty to get going. Not just because he's on one of my fantasy teams, I promise. I just want to see Jeanty have a good game. They gave him plenty of opportunities. I just need to see him make more of those chances. I want to see Ashton Jeanty have a 100-yard gain. I want to see this defense continue to play well. They went up against a really young offense that's really not ready right now, so can't buy too much into the defense yet. I still think there's a lot of work to do on the secondary. With that all said, though, they stay at 21. I think they will be a scrappy team that will be able to compete with any rosters out there. I believe they play the Chargers in week 2, which will be a great test for the Raiders. Moving to number 20, I have the Dallas Cowboys. I really wanted to move the Dallas Cowboys up, but I had to keep them in the exact same spot. A lot of great positive signs from their week 1 game versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And if there's one takeaway that I had from this Cowboys team after their week 1 loss, this Cowboys team is going to be really good. And they came really close to beating the Philadelphia Eagles. If CD doesn't drop those passes, they might go down and score. Dak looked great, but I still have a lot of questions with this defense. The offensive line showed some serious growth. Javonte Williams showed some growth too as a runner. The system looks good. They lost the game, so I couldn't move them up too much here. So that's why I kept them at 20. I need to see this defense play better. They have a really winnable game versus the Giants this week. If they win this game, they will probably move up my board a couple spots. Moving over to number 19, I have the Seattle Seahawks. I liked what I saw from the defense a couple times in this game, but there's a lot of things I did not like. The offensive things it did not look good. Sam Darnold was getting pressured all night long. He didn't really have a reliable target outside of Jackson Smith and Jigba. The running backs really couldn't get going, especially Kenneth Walker. And Sam Darnold did not play a great game. This is a game where San Francisco, they turned the ball over multiple times. They missed multiple field goals. You would have thought with the way the game went, with the blocked field goals, with the missed field goals, with all the shenanigans that happened with this Niners team, that this Seattle team should have won this game. But they just could not do anything with the football. They could not consistently move the football down the field. Jackson Smith and Jigba had a great game. Nobody else stepped up. I'm really intrigued to see what this Seahawks offense does to counteract some of the flaws of their skill positions, because after week one, I feel like that is one of their bigger weaknesses. The defense played well. They made enough stops. They got some turnovers. I think the defense will have to help them win games. This offense has to play better. They have to be able to run the football. And that way, if you run the football effectively on first down, Cooper Kupp might be able to get going as an intermediate or underneath receiver. They need to create a connection between Darnold and Cooper Kupp. After week one, I left with a pretty nasty taste in my mouth, but I still have hope for this team. I'm not completely out on them yet. It's only week one. I think they will get better. Moving to number 18, I have the Atlanta Falcons. My biggest takeaway from this Falcons game, they got a quarterback in Michael Penix Jr. That dude had a lot of things not going his way. The offensive line did not play great. You had some injuries there too. Bijan and Algier were not running the football effectively. The defense couldn't get a ton of pressure on Baker Mayfield throughout the day. A lot of youth, though, so I'm not too overly concerned. But I did feel like Michael Penix Jr. had a great game. He got the team ready to go. They were playing at a high level, and I think this Falcons team will be competitive. I think that they will be an awesome team throughout the season. It's just after week one, you lost the game. I can't really move you up or down much because you played so well. This Falcons team will be competitive. I would not be surprised if they end up fighting for the division late into the season. Moving to number 17, one of my biggest risers in the Indianapolis Colts. Heading into the season, I liked the roster. I just had a ton of questions at quarterback. They were at 24 last week. Now they're up to 17. I do not want to put them in my top half quite yet, even though they dominated the Miami Dolphins. The only reason why I still have my pessimism with Daniel Jones and with this victory over the Dolphins. If they come out next week, though, and they win, I don't know, somewhat decisively, they will easily move into probably my top 14 or 13, because the roster in Indianapolis is very good. And I like what I saw from Shane Steichen. It looked like he had his team ready to go. Daniel Jones had his best game of his career. We will see if he can continue to play at a high level. If he can, the Colts will easily move into my top half. We are now at the halfway point of the video. If you are enjoying, hit the like and subscribe button. And if you guys want to see longer form content similar to this, I have a podcast called First and 10. Link in the description as well as in the pinned comment. Check out the channel. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun. Let's get back to the power rankings. Moving to number 16, I had the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals do not move in my power rankings. I didn't love what I saw from them against the Saints. I wanted to see this offense get going. Marvin Harrison Jr. had a fine day, which gives me some optimism about this offense. Will Johnson also had a great day in the secondary, which makes me feel good about this defense. It was not a decisive victory, though, and the biggest thing I still have question with this Cardinals team, can Kyler Murray be the quarterback? Can Kyler be the guy? It was not a great win. It was not a great game from Kyler. Let's see if he can build upon this one, because this Cardinals team it's getting there. It is really close to getting there. Offensive line is also a concern for Arizona. It was not great. Moving to number 15, I have the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I'm not going to use the injuries as a reason to potentially keep them where I had them last week. Last week, they were at 17. Right now, they're at 15. I know there's question marks with Brock Purdy. I know George Kittle is out for the next couple weeks. Christian McCaffrey, I think he's fine for now, but how much longer? There's a lot of things they still have to answer. But I thought the Niners, in a game where everything that could have went wrong, they still won a game versus a really competent team in Seattle. Multiple turnovers. The field goal unit could not do nothing right to start the game off, and they still won the game. So I got to give them their flowers. Let's clean up the operations in the field goal unit. Brock Purdy, don't turn the ball over. Play clean football. This Niners team, with their schedule, they'll win a lot of games this year. Number 14, the Houston Texans. Now, they initially were at number 13. Now they moved down to 14. And everything that I have been saying this offseason about this Texans team, it felt like it came true in week one. Great defense, good skill positions. CJ Stroud is still CJ Stroud, but that offensive line is one of the worst in the NFL. And something that Texans fans were consistently saying to sort of combat this idea about the offensive line sucking is that CJ Stroud will have more control of the offensive line. Their new offensive coordinator is going to work around this unit. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Guys, when you got 5 dudes in front of you that simply cannot block, it's impossible to have an offense. And that's what happened out there. It was so hard to run the football efficiently. It was so hard to make anything happen downfield because there was multiple times where this Rams defensive line got pressure almost instantly on CJ Stroud. And we saw it last year where CJ sort of had some trust in the offensive line to start the season off. And then as the year went on, let's be honest, he got a little rattled. That offensive line was so bad. He got sacked so many times, and that's what's going to happen this upcoming season. You had one really good offensive lineman last year. That was Laramie Tunsil. Yes, the penalties. Yes, he had some bad plays, but he's still your best offensive lineman, and you trade him away. Now your offensive line, you lose your starting center. It is about as bad as it gets. This is probably the worst offensive line in the league, and they moved down one spot. They kept it close, and this defense will keep it close, but they are so handicapped with this terrible offensive line. If they don't make a trade or anything else, this is a Texans team that will probably win the division, unless Indianapolis plays well. We'll keep an eye on that one, but they'll probably win their division, and they'll probably be out in the first or second round because this offensive line simply is not good enough. It's such a shame. Stroud is so good. This team is so talented defensively, but this offensive line is their absolute Achilles heel. Moving to number 13, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers had a good game, but a bad game in some ways against the New York Jets. For starters, the offense played great. You gotta love what you saw from Aaron Rodgers. But at the same time, this defense that they're going to be relying on quite heavily throughout the season played about as bad as you could have wanted from this team. They went against a Jets offense that I did not feel great about, and they struggled. I mean, the tackles for the Jets handled their business. Yes, TJ Watt made some plays. He's TJ Watt. But the tackles for the Jets really did a great job on the Steelers, and it was sort of a struggle. They were getting pressure on Fields, but Fields' legs kept the play going. They were winning downfield. I like this Steelers defense. I think they're very, very talented, but I want to see them play better. I think they will be a better team this year, hence why I moved them up one. I just need to see this defense ball out these next couple weeks, and I want to see this offense for Pittsburgh keep it up. If they can continue to play like this throughout the rest of the season, this will be a very good Pittsburgh team. For now, I want to have some pessimism here because they beat up on a Jets defense that I don't think is that talented outside of their superstars, and the defense did not play that great. So they move up one spot. Let's keep an eye on the Steelers team now. Moving to number 12, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Despite winning a game versus a really good Falcons team, I had to move the Buccaneers back one. And it really wasn't to any fault of their own. It just happened to be that a couple teams behind them moved ahead of them. I thought the Buccaneers played a fine game. I thought they were able to do some things defensively to, make life difficult for this Falcons offense. They stuffed the run, per usual. They have Vita Vea, of course they can. But Michael Penix had success throwing the football, which is a bit concerning because the Buccaneers did invest a lot into the secondary in the draft. We'll wait and see, though. I still think there's some things to unlock with this defense. As for the offensive side of things, it's kind of difficult to judge this Bucs offense when they don't have maybe their best starting tackle in Tristan Wirfs right now. I believe they put Graham Barton there, and that was a bit of a struggle. He's definitely not a tackle. He's a guard/center, but they had to play him at tackle there. Emeka Egbuka had a great game. Mike Evans is a great player still. I want to see Bucky Irving get going. I want to see them utilize him as much as possible. Baker got going. It was a bit of a slow start. It felt like they were walking through mud throughout the game. They got the win, though. They're 1-0 in the division, 1-0 on the season. I want to see them build off of this game and get better, and then in a couple weeks, they'll probably be in my top 10. Moving to number 11, I have the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I actually moved them down one spot, and it's basically for the exact same reason as the Buccaneers. There's a team that I had a little bit below them who had a huge win, and I had to move them above them. So they moved down one spot for really no fault of their own. The first half for Minnesota was about as ugly as it could have gotten. The offense was bad. You had a pick six at one point, I think, after the second half started. The defense was keeping them in the game, but they weren't necessarily excelling or anything like that. It wasn't until late in the third, basically after the interception, where McCarthy came alive. And he played very well in that fourth quarter. He was efficient. He was moving the ball downfield. The run game got going. They were using their strength to their advantage. And they won this game with a number of their starters not playing. Harrison Smith, Christian Darrisaw. I think Josh Metellus didn't play. Don't quote me on that, but I don't think he did. And yet they still won the game. They were able to come from behind and beat this Bears team. And they were up by 10 points in the fourth quarter, despite being down by over 10 sometime in the third. The Vikings showed me a lot in that second half. I just want to see a full game of that next week. Let's see if this second half translates to future success, because they're a talented team. And if McCarthy plays like that with the moxie and the poise that he showed, one of my favorite things about McCarthy, the dude looks like a leader. The dude, if you guys watched the way that he was interacting on the sideline, the way that he interacted in the locker room, the way this team just sort of rallied around him, that was good stuff. That was really good stuff. So let's see if he can build on that in the future. We enter into my top 10, and at number 10, I have the Denver Broncos. Despite winning a game by 8 points, they go from number 7 to number 10. The biggest reason why, they struggled. They struggled a lot. This was a game where it felt like the Broncos offense was asked to be a bit more potent, to be a bit more downfield, to make some plays. And it felt like in this game, it kind of backfired. It felt like with Oregon, when Bo Nix was with Oregon, it was a lot of conservative things. A lot of things that we saw in his first year in Denver was a lot of things you saw in Oregon. But there's an other version of Bo Nix that happened at Auburn, where Auburn wanted this guy to be Superman. And it felt like in this game, they asked him, hey, we have the Tennessee Titans on the schedule. Let's let Bo Nix be Superman. And it worked, but it also didn't. Some turnovers, some bad play. They couldn't get anything really going offensively throughout the night. The run game was fine. The offensive line played well. But I wanted to see them blow out the Tennessee Titans, and they didn't. I still think the Broncos have an excellent defense that played very well on Sunday, but there's a lot of things still to work on. They have a tough matchup next week versus a team on fire in the Colts. That's going to be a very interesting game. I will definitely have my eyes on that one. They're still in my top 10. I still thoroughly believe in this team. Just want to see the offense play better. Moving to number 9, the Detroit Lions. Yes, the Detroit Lions are still in my top 10, and yes, week 1 was about as ugly as it could have gotten. It was a embarrassing game for the Detroit Lions. They got smoked. It was, I believe, 27-13, but they scored a touchdown late in the game to make the score look a little bit better. In reality, it was like 27-6 throughout the day. Goff looked fine in spots, but he had the interception. It looked like this was an offense that just could not get anything going downfield. A lot of their bigger plays came on 3rd and longs, so that's a bit concerning. They could not run the ball at all. Micah Parsons and that defensive line caused havoc all day long. One of the reasons why I felt so comfortable with the Lions in this game, I was like, oh, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, all those weapons, and you're going up against a cornerback duo of Carrington Valentine and Nate Hobbs and whoever else is playing in the secondary. And in this game, the secondary won. Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams made so many great plays. Yes, eventually Jared Goff would get some things going, and they had some drives where they would methodically move the ball down the field, but it was long and slow drives, and it was dinking and dunking and 3-yard runs, 2-yard runs, and then a big play here or there just to keep them in the game. Whereas this Packers offense, chunk plays over and over again. The running game got going. The passing game was going. I did not like what I saw from this Lions team at all, but there's too much talent for this team to be bad. I'm really hoping this Lions team is not the 2023 Eagles, because that would be bad for the NFC North. And it'd be great for Packers fans, though. So I have the Lions at my number 9 spot. I still think they're a good team, but they got to bounce back. They have the Bears this week. I want to see a victory here. They need a bounce back win. You cannot start the season off 0-2 in the division if you want to be a top contending team. Moving to number 8, I have the Washington Commanders. Washington moves up 1 spot, but it wasn't really for anything I saw in week 1. It just happened to be the Lions were ahead of them in my initial rankings, and they ended up moving to a spot behind them. So by default, the Commanders ended up moving forward here. I thought the Commanders played fine. They did their job defensively. The Giants had a hard day offensively, and that was because Washington has some dudes who can get after the quarterback, who can play well in the secondary. I thought Trey Amos had a nice day. And on the offensive end, look, it wasn't a perfect day. But Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, aka Bill, he had a nice day, which is great to see. He's definitely RB1 moving forward. Jaden Daniels made enough plays. It wasn't a pretty game. It felt like kind of like the Buccaneers. It felt like at times this offense was stuck in mud, but they could afford that. This was a Giants team that was not good. I liked what I saw. I think the Washington Commanders have a lot to look forward to. They're at my number 8. Moving to number 7, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs were number 3 last week. They're now number 7. There's a lot to look forward to for the Chiefs, and I still think this Chiefs team has a great chance of being in the Super Bowl yet again because they can win any game they want in the playoffs. But I think we saw some flaws in them in week 1 that I don't really know if they have an answer to as we go towards the future of the season. For starters, they do have an answer for the receiving core. No Rashee Rice, no Xavier Worthy. Once those guys come back, this offense will start to open up. But they do not have a running back on roster that I feel great about right now. Isaiah Pacheco, he just doesn't have it no more. The injury just killed it all out of him. We'll see if he can get going, but it was not pretty in week 1. Kareem Hunt, he's unk now. He's not that guy no more. Travis Kelce, 2 catches. The majority of his yards were on 1 big touchdown play. Not a big game from Kelce. And defensively, they showed flaws. Keenan Allen, Matt McConkey, Quentin Johnston were killing this secondary, just smoking them. And the defensive line, I mean, Chris Jones is still Chris Jones. George Karlaftis had a great play as well. Those guys are good, but the Chargers, I mean, they were handling business. Joe Alt looks like a superstar, by the way. We'll talk about them here in a moment. But this Chiefs team has some question marks, and I've been kind of talking about that with some of the questions on the offensive line, the lack of a serious ground game, some of the questions I have defensively. They're at number 7, basically only because of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. I still have a lot of hope for this team. They will be fine. They will make the playoffs, and they'll probably correct some things on the defensive end to have a really good defense. But this is not the start I was hoping for Kansas City. They have a lot of questions to answer. Moving to number 6, I have the LA Chargers. The Chargers, I can't confirm this, but I believe they're one of my biggest movers, probably besides the Colts. They were number 12 to start the season off. They're up to my number 6. I liked what I saw from the LA Chargers. It sucks that Rashawn Slater's out for the season because they could have had 2 of the best tackles on the same team, and this offense would have been crazy good. It's a shame that didn't happen, though. I still think this offensive line is very good. Joe Alt looks like a Pro Bowl, all-pro talent this upcoming season. I think once they get Najee Harris going a bit more, this running game will become better. In this game, I thought Hampton was fine. He didn't do anything particularly special. So hopefully when Najee does come back, we start to open up the run game a little bit more. But I love what I saw from the receiving core. Loved it. These guys complement each other so well. Trey Harris, when he gets going too, it's going to open up even more for this passing game. Herbert looks like he might be in for a massive season. And the defense, they did their job. Yes, Kansas City is going to go and score. They're a good enough team with great enough coaching and a good enough quarterback to put up some points. But they got pressure on Mahomes. They were sticky in coverage. They made life difficult for them. And they won against a Chiefs team in a tough environment in Brazil. Shout out to the Chargers. That was a huge victory on Friday. Number 5, the LA Rams. I really had a strong debate between these two LA teams because I was more impressed with the Chargers more so than the Rams, but I was also a lot higher on the Rams preseason. So the Rams, they beat the Texans. They made life hell for CJ Stroud. They played decent enough on the offensive end. I did keep them at 5, but if you want to flip the Chargers and the Rams, I'm also okay with that. That was really tough for me to figure that one out. But when it comes to this Rams team, I think they're one of the best teams in the NFC. I think they'll only get better on the offensive end. It felt like both Houston and LA were rusty. It looked like they were not very, very good right now on the offensive end. It will get better. Puka Nacua, can we get more from him? Devontae Adams had a good game. Kyron Williams, let's get more from him too. Defensively, let's continue it up. Secondary looked good. Everything checked off for the Rams. You also beat a very good Houston team. So they're at my number 5, but I do want to see them play a bit cleaner. I want to see a bit more of a potent offense this year. Moving to number 4, the Green Bay Packers. Listen, the Packers, they look good. They destroyed the Detroit Lions. They made them look silly. They made them look bad. They made them look like a JV team. The Packers looked good. They have an offense that has some weapons. Jordan Love played, for the most part, pretty clean. Offensive line looks really good. They got Tucker Kraft going. Josh Jacobs is Josh Jacobs. That offense looks really good. The big storyline for me, though, this defense looks great. This defense looks absolutely great. Micah only had 1 sack on the day, but he was out there smoking dudes. 21% pass rush win rate versus Penei Sewell. He was constantly getting after the quarterback, and his presence alone made life so much easier for Lucas Van Ness and Rashawn Gary and all those other guys up the middle. They were stuffing the run at a very elite level. They got after Jared Goff all game long. The secondary made some plays. They got a turnover. Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams. This looks to be a Packers offense and defense that is Super Bowl potential. Again, it's only week 1. I do not want to overreact. But after that game, I am telling you right now, the Packers are 100% in the conversation. Let's see if they can sustain this. Let's see if they go through some valleys and how they can recover and so on and so forth. A long season ahead. Injuries will happen. Bad play. We'll see. So let's be patient. For now, they're at my number 4. Would not be surprised if when we get to the playoffs, we're talking about the Green Bay Packers. Moving to number 3, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. I still have the Eagles in front of the Packers, and that's mainly because of what I know of this Eagles team and the identity they have had the past couple years. This is a Super Bowl caliber team. It's clear. They have all the pieces necessary to do so. But against the Cowboys, we saw some flaws on both sides of this Eagles team. On the defensive end, their second cornerback is going to be a situation they need to look to address. What does a pass rushers look like next to Nolan Smith? We didn't really hear much from Azeez Ojulari or Josh Uche or any of those other guys. They did just bring in Zadarius Smith, who I think will help them, but how much so, I'm not sure. I want to see this cornerback spot, though. That looks to be a massive weakness because Dallas with Pickens and Lamb were exposing them all day. Let's be honest, Philly, they should have lost to Dallas. Dallas had plenty of opportunities. They won by 4, but Dallas had several drives where Dak put a throw on the dime and CD just dropped it. So Dallas should have won. Philly, though, remains in my top 3 because they did win, and you still have to trust their upper echelon talent. Jalen Carter also did not go. Landon Dickerson also did not go. And there was also a weather delay, too. So let's kind of wait and see. Moving to number 2, I think we all know who my number 1 and 2 are. But at number 2, I have the Baltimore Ravens. Look, the Ravens, I thought were going to dominate the Buffalo Bills. They had an excellent first 3.5 quarters. Then the fourth quarter happened, and Josh Allen started to cook. The Ravens just have this issue of not being able to finish games. And I heard a podcast talk about this, and I wanted to bring this up here as well. I think there needs to become a point where if you are a Bills fan, a Ravens fan, maybe a Chiefs fan, or any of those teams, where when you have the lead in the fourth quarter and it's 3 minutes left or 2 minutes left, and the other team is calling timeouts to get the ball back to their offense, you have to be aggressive. You cannot run the football 2 straight plays and have a 3rd and 10, and now you're trying to make something happen where potentially anything can happen. You have to be aggressive. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are too good of quarterbacks to where in that fourth quarter on a 2-minute drive, they're going to win the game. Same with the Patrick Mahomes. When that happens, you have to be aggressive. The Ravens did not. They got conservative. They had the massive fumble. And of course, the Buffalo Bills get the ball back with, a minute something change, and they go down and score. And they did so pretty easily, if we're being honest with each other. This is a 2 top teams that I think right now, after week 1, are the 2 best teams by a wide margin. We'll see if the Eagles or the Packers or the Chargers can enter that conversation. But after week 1, it just looks like the Ravens and the Buffalo Bills are the 2 best teams, which brings me to my number 1, the Buffalo Bills. Any shockers? Any shockers? No, the Buffalo Bills are number 1. They beat, in my opinion, the best team in the Baltimore Ravens. I still believe the Ravens have the recipe to win it all. I think they're the 2nd best team, but it's still really close. They went down to the wire with the Buffalo Bills. Had they not fumbled, had they not got conservative, they would have won the game. But it ended up playing out how it did. They got conservative. They fumbled the football. They gave the Bills life, and the Bills took advantage of it. The Buffalo Bills have everything you want. An incredible quarterback, a defense that can make some plays, though they did not make a lot out there. The running stuff has to get better. The safeties, my goodness, Cole Bishop make a tackle on Derrick Henry. Very tough task. I wouldn't do so either, but I understand. This is a Bills team that has talent, and they have an offense that can score 50 points any day they want. So the Buffalo Bills are my number 1. The Ravens are my number 2. This is my post-week 1 power rankings. You let me know in the comment section below, what do you agree with and what do you disagree with? And if you enjoyed, hit the like and subscribe button. I love you guys. Peace out.